Introduction: The reality of possession. Before we begin, I need to be clear about something. What you're about to hear is not fiction. These are not Hollywood inventions or exaggerated tales. These are documented cases of demonic possession, witnessed by priests, doctors, psychiatrists, and families. The Catholic Church performs thousands of exorcisms every year. The Vatican increased the number of trained exorcists in 2014 because demand was overwhelming. Whatever you believe about the supernatural, something is happening. Something real. Something terrifying. Possession is not what you see in movies. There are no spinning heads or levitation. Well, not usually. The reality is often more subtle but far more disturbing. It's the erosion of a person's identity, the invasion of their body by something that should not exist. Medical professionals can't explain it. Psychiatrists document behaviors that defy psychological diagnosis. Physicists observe phenomena that violate natural laws, and the church calls it what it is: demonic possession. What I'm about to share with you are 5 cases. 5 people who experienced something beyond our understanding. 5 battles between good and evil that left witnesses traumatized and questioning everything they thought they knew about reality. These stories come from exorcists, family members, and in some cases, the possessed themselves, those who survived and remember what it was like to have their soul imprisoned while something else controlled their body. A warning before we continue: these accounts are disturbing. They describe violence, psychological torment, and evil in its purest form. If you're sensitive to such content, this may not be for you. But if you want to understand the truth about possession, the real, documented truth, then stay with me. Because what you're about to hear will change how you see the world. Case 1: The Teenager. This case occurred in 2016 in a small town in Indiana. The subject was a 16-year-old girl I'll call Emma. Her real name has been changed to protect her privacy, but everything else is exactly as documented by the exorcist, Father Michael Torres. Father Torres kept detailed notes throughout the possession and subsequent exorcism. What follows is compiled from his journals, interviews with Emma's parents, and Emma's own testimony after her recovery. It started innocently enough. Emma and 3 friends decided to use a Ouija board during a sleepover, typical teenage experimentation. They asked it questions, giggled at the responses, treated it like a game. But Emma's mother, Maria, noticed changes almost immediately. Her daughter became withdrawn, stopped eating, started having violent outbursts completely out of character for the normally gentle girl. Maria's account. The first real sign was her eyes. Emma has beautiful green eyes, but 3 days after that sleepover, they looked different, darker, like something was looking out through them that wasn't my daughter. She started speaking in her sleep. Not English, not any language I recognized, guttural sounds, animal-like. My husband recorded it one night. We played it for a linguistics professor at the university. He said it sounded like Aramaic, an ancient dialect, but Emma had never studied languages. We took her to doctors, psychiatrists. They found nothing physically wrong, prescribed antipsychotics. The medication didn't help. If anything, she got worse. 2 weeks after the Ouija board incident, Emma tried to kill her younger brother. She walked into his room at 2 a.m. with a kitchen knife, just stood over his bed staring at him. He woke up and screamed. That's what saved him. When we asked her why, she said, and I'll never forget this, she said, "He told me to. He's always telling me to do things now." She was crying, terrified of herself. That's when Maria contacted Father Torres. She'd grown up Catholic but hadn't practiced in years. Desperation drove her back to the church. Father Torres' initial assessment was cautious. He's performed over 30 exorcisms in his career and knows how to distinguish genuine possession from mental illness. He spent 3 sessions with Emma, observing, questioning, documenting. From Father Torres' journal. During our second meeting, Emma exhibited knowledge she shouldn't possess. She described in perfect detail events from my childhood, events I've never shared with anyone. She knew the name of my sister who died in infancy, something not in any public record. More disturbing was her reaction to blessed objects. I kept a rosary in my pocket blessed by the bishop himself. Emma couldn't see it, but when I entered the room, she became violently agitated, screaming, thrashing. She had to be restrained. She spoke in that ancient language again. I recorded it and sent it to a colleague who specializes in dead languages. He confirmed Aramaic, and the words were blasphemous, curses against God, threats against me and my family. I knew then what I was dealing with. This was genuine possession. The exorcism took place over 3 days. Father Torres brought 2 assistant priests and a medical doctor to monitor Emma's vital signs throughout the ordeal. What happened during those 3 days is documented in hospital records, video footage, and the testimonies of 5 witnesses. Day 1. Emma was strapped to a bed for her own safety. The moment Father Torres began the ritual prayers, her behavior changed dramatically. Her voice deepened, became male. Multiple male voices overlapping, speaking simultaneously. Medical examination confirmed her vocal cords couldn't produce those sounds naturally. She displayed superhuman strength. The leather restraints, designed to hold grown men, snapped. It took 3 adults to hold her down while new restraints were applied. Temperature in the room dropped by 20 degrees. All witnesses confirmed this. The doctor monitoring Emma noted her body temperature spiked to 104 degrees despite the cold air. She vomited, not normal vomit, black substance that medical analysis later couldn't identify. It had no biological markers. Wasn't food, wasn't bile, just something else. Father Torres continued the prayers for 6 hours. Finally, Emma collapsed unconscious. The entity or entities retreated, temporarily. Day 2. The possession returned stronger. Emma's body contorted in ways human bodies shouldn't. Joints bending backward, spine arching impossibly. She spoke in languages no one present understood. Later analysis of recordings identified Latin, ancient Greek, and something that linguistic experts couldn't classify. The entity revealed personal information about everyone in the room, secret sins, hidden shames, things they'd never told anyone. It was psychologically devastating. One of the assistant priests broke down crying when the entity described his struggle with alcoholism and revealed a relapse he'd hidden from everyone. But Father Torres persisted. He'd seen this before, the demon trying to break their will to make them give up. During a brief moment when Emma regained partial control, she begged them not to stop. Her real voice, weak and terrified. "Don't let it win, please. It's hurting me. It's always hurting me." Then the entity seized control again. Emma's face transformed. Not physically, but the expression, the hatred in her eyes was inhuman. Day 3. The final battle. Father Torres brought in holy water blessed by the Vatican, relics of saints, every spiritual weapon available. Emma levitated. Not movie-style floating, but her body lifted 3 inches off the bed. All witnesses confirm this. Video footage shows it clearly. Objects in the room moved. Medical equipment sliding across tables, crosses falling from walls. A Bible flew across the room, hitting one of the priests in the face. And then Emma spoke. Her own voice this time, but channeling the entity's words. "I am Legion. I am many. This flesh is mine. Her soul is mine. You cannot cast us out. We are eternal. We are inevitable." Father Torres responded by invoking the most powerful prayers of exorcism. He commanded the demon to reveal its name, to state its purpose. The entity screamed. Emma's body convulsed violently. She vomited that black substance again, along with what appeared to be nails and pieces of glass, though she'd never swallowed such things. And then, suddenly, it was over. Emma went completely still, stopped breathing. The doctor rushed to check her vitals, no heartbeat. For 45 seconds, Emma was clinically dead. Then she gasped, drew in a huge breath, opened her eyes, and they were green again, her green, "Mom," she said weakly. "What happened? Where am I?" The demon was gone. Emma recovered slowly. She had no memory of most of the possession. Fragments, only feelings of being trapped, of watching her body do things she couldn't control, of pain and fear. She's 19 now. Still in therapy, still dealing with the psychological trauma, but she's alive. She's herself again, and she never ever wants to talk about Ouija boards. Case 2, the mother. This case is particularly disturbing because the possessed was a mother of 3 young children. I'll call her Carol. She was 34 years old, happily married, working as an elementary school teacher. By all accounts, a normal, stable person. Until the day her personality completely changed. This account comes from Father James McCarthy, who performed the exorcism, and from Carol's husband, David, who witnessed the entire ordeal. David's testimony. It happened overnight, literally. Carol went to bed normal on Tuesday, woke up Wednesday morning as someone else. She came downstairs for breakfast, looked at me and the kids and said, "Who are these disgusting creatures in my house?" Not joking, dead serious. Her voice was different, lower, raspy, and her eyes, I can't describe it. They were her eyes, but what was looking out through them wasn't Carol. The kids started crying. She laughed. This horrible, cold laugh. Then she went back upstairs and locked herself in our bedroom. I called in sick to work, took the kids to my mother's. When I came back, I could hear Carol talking to someone upstairs, but she was alone. I checked. I asked her what was going on. She turned to me and smiled, but it wasn't her smile. Carol has this beautiful, warm smile. This was cruel, predatory. She said, "Your wife is gone. I live here now, and soon I'll be the only one living here. The children will make such interesting playthings." That's when I knew this wasn't a breakdown. This wasn't mental illness. This was possession. David contacted the police, who sent a crisis intervention team. Carol acted completely normal for them, sweet, confused, claimed David was having delusions, that he'd been under stress. The moment they left, she dropped the act, laughed at David, taunted him. That night, David woke up to find Carol standing over him with a knife. The same knife she used to cut vegetables for the kids' lunches. She was just standing there, holding it, staring at him. "Do it," she said, but it wasn't her voice. It was something speaking through her. "Kill him, he's not worthy of you. Kill him and you'll be free." David saw Carol's hand shaking, saw tears streaming down her face. She was fighting it, fighting to put down the knife. "Help me," she whispered in her real voice. "Please, it's so strong, I can't hold it back much longer." David called Father McCarthy that night. The priest arrived within hours. Father McCarthy's assessment. "I've been an exorcist for 23 years. I've seen many possessions, but Carol's case was unique in its suddenness and severity. Most possessions are gradual. The demon establishes a foothold, slowly expands its influence. Carol went from normal to completely possessed in hours. That suggested either a very powerful entity or a person who was spiritually vulnerable in ways we didn't understand. During my initial evaluation, the entity speaking through Carol revealed something we later confirmed. Carol had been sexually abused as a child by her uncle. She'd never told anyone. The trauma created a spiritual wound, a doorway. The demon had been with her for years, waiting, and something triggered its full manifestation. We never discovered what. The 4-day exorcism. The exorcism began immediately. Father McCarthy didn't have time for the usual protocols. Carol's condition was deteriorating rapidly. Within hours of beginning the ritual, the manifestations intensified. Carol's body temperature fluctuated wildly. One moment 94 degrees, the next 106. Medical science can't explain such rapid changes without causing death. She spoke in multiple voices simultaneously. 3 distinct voices, all male, all speaking different languages at the same time. Her skin developed welts and scratches that appeared spontaneously. Medical examination found no external cause. The wounds spelled out words in Latin, mine and never. She demonstrated knowledge she shouldn't possess, described in detail murders that happened decades ago in other countries, recited verses from obscure religious texts she'd never studied, and she prophesied, told Father McCarthy specific events that would happen in his life. 3 of them later came true, exactly as described. Day 1, the entity reveals itself. Father McCarthy began with standard exorcism prayers. Carol's response was immediate and violent. She thrashed against her restraints with such force that the bed frame cracked. Her screams weren't human witnesses described them as the sound of thousands of voices screaming in agony simultaneously. The entity mocked the priest. It quoted scripture back to him, twisting the words into blasphemy. It revealed sins of everyone present, not just small sins, but devastating secrets. An assistant priest's affair with a married woman, another's embezzlement from church funds. "You think you can cast me out," the entity said through Carol. "I am ancient. I was here before your pathetic Christ. I will be here long after your God is forgotten." David watched from the corner of the room, horrified. This thing wearing his wife's face was pure malevolence. He could feel its hatred like heat from a furnace. Day 2, escalation. Carol's body began to change. Not permanently, but during the possession episodes, her features would distort. Witnesses described her face as becoming wrong, eyes too far apart, mouth too wide, expressions no human face should be able to make. She vomited repeatedly, not just the black substance seen in other cases, but also what appeared to be animal parts, teeth, claws, things that couldn't be identified. Medical analysis was inconclusive. Some samples defied classification entirely. The demon's strength grew. It took 4 men to hold Carol down during prayer sessions. At one point, she bent the metal bed frame with her bare hands, something physically impossible for a woman of her size and build. And then the demon began targeting the children. Even though they were miles away at their grandmother's house, they started having nightmares. All 3 of them. The same nightmare. A dark figure standing at the foot of their beds, promising to come for them soon. Day 3, the bargain. On the 3rd day, something unprecedented happened. The demon offered a deal. Speaking through Carol, it said, "I will leave this flesh, but you must make a choice, her for another. Give me one of the children and I release the mother." David, watching this exchange, nearly broke. The thought of sacrificing one of his children, but also the thought of losing Carol forever. The demon smiled, knowing exactly what it was doing. Psychological torture. Father McCarthy refused immediately. "We don't negotiate with demons, ever. God's power is greater than any bargain you can offer." The entity raged. Carol's body thrashed so violently she dislocated her shoulder. Her screaming was inhuman. Witnesses described it as the sound of metal scraping against metal, of animals dying, of suffering beyond comprehension. But Father McCarthy persisted. He called upon every saint, invoked the most powerful prayers, used holy relics blessed by 3 different popes. The room became a battlefield between good and evil, with Carol's body as the contested ground. Day 4, liberation. On the 4th day, during the invocation of the Blessed Virgin Mary, something shifted. Carol, the real Carol, broke through for just a moment. "David," she said in her own voice, weak and broken, "I love you, I love the kids, don't let it use me to hurt them. If you have to end this, I understand." David was crying. No, we're getting you back, all of you, Father, please." Father McCarthy intensified the prayers. The demon screamed, fought, threatened. But slowly, gradually, it was losing ground. Carol's voice became stronger, her real personality surfacing more frequently. And then, during the final invocation of St. Michael the Archangel, Carol vomited one last time. Black bile, thick and viscous. It pooled on the floor and, according to witnesses, moved on its own, forming shapes. trying to crawl away before evaporating into smoke that smelled of sulfur. Carol collapsed. When she woke 20 minutes later, she was herself again, weak, traumatized, but free. The demon spoke one final time, not through Carol, but as a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "You win this one, priest, but we are many. We are everywhere, and we will return. For her children, for you, for everyone you love." Aftermath. But the ordeal left scars, deep psychological trauma. Carol had been aware for much of the possession, trapped in her own mind, watching the demon use her body, powerless to stop it. She remembered things the demon made her body do, things she's still too traumatized to discuss. The family moved, changed their names, underwent years of therapy. Carol couldn't teach anymore. Being around children triggered panic attacks. The memories of what the demon wanted to do to her own kids were too fresh, too horrible. And every night, Carol checks on her children multiple times, making sure they're safe, making sure nothing is watching them from the corners of their rooms. Because the demon's final words haunt her: "We will return." David's final statement. "People ask me if I believe in evil now, in demons, in possession. I tell them I don't believe. I know, I've seen it. I've watched it try to destroy my wife, my family, and I know it's still out there, waiting, watching, looking for the next vulnerable soul to claim. We survived, but we're changed. We'll never be the same people we were before. And we live every day knowing that somewhere, something that hates us with unimaginable intensity is waiting for another chance." Father McCarthy performs a protection blessing on the family's home every 6 months. He taught them prayers, gave them blessed objects, but even he admits, if a demon is determined enough, if a person has the right vulnerabilities, no protection is absolute. All we can do is stay vigilant, stay faithful, and pray we never attract their attention again. This case demonstrates one of the most terrifying aspects of possession: its speed. Carol went from normal to fully possessed in hours. Most cases take weeks or months. This suggests certain traumas, certain spiritual wounds, can leave a person vulnerable to instant invasion. The abuse Carol suffered as a child created a doorway. She'd never healed from it, never addressed it, never sought help. And the demon waited, patient, watching, until the moment was right. This is why spiritual health is so important, why dealing with trauma matters, why unhealed wounds are dangerous. They don't just hurt us psychologically, they can leave us open to something far worse. Case 3, the priest. This case is perhaps the most troubling because it involves the possession of a priest. Someone dedicated to fighting evil became its victim. This account was documented by the Vatican's Office of Exorcism and remains one of the most studied cases in modern demonology. I'll call him Father Anthony. He was 42 years old, serving a parish in Louisiana, an experienced priest with a theology doctorate, respected, devout, strong in his faith, which made his possession all the more shocking. The 4th exorcism. Father Anthony had performed 3 exorcisms in his career, minor cases. He was good at it, confident, perhaps too confident. During his 4th exorcism, a 17-year-old boy possessed after experimenting with black magic. Something went wrong, terribly wrong. The demon, speaking through the boy, said something that shook Father Anthony to his core. It revealed a sin from his past, a terrible secret he'd never confessed to anyone, not even in the confessional, not even to God. When he was 19, before becoming a priest, Father Anthony had been involved in a drunk driving accident that killed a pedestrian. He fled the scene, never came forward. The case went unsolved. The victim's family never got justice, never got closure. The guilt had driven him to the priesthood. He thought his service to God would atone for his sin. He dedicated his life to helping others, to fighting evil, to saving souls. But he never confessed the specific crime, never sought forgiveness for that particular act of cowardice. The demon knew, and it used that knowledge. According to the two assisting priests who witnessed the exorcism, this is what happened. The possessed boy sat up on the bed, looked directly at Father Anthony, and smiled. December 12, 1993, Highway 90, 11:47 p.m. You remember, don't you, Father? Her name was Sarah Martinez, mother of two. She was crossing the street to get to her car after her shift at the hospital. Father Anthony's face went white. The assisting priests noticed but didn't understand why. The demon continued. You were drunk, coming home from a party. You never even hit the brakes, just kept driving. Left her dying in the street. Her daughters were 9 and 11. They waited for her to come home. She never did. Father Anthony hesitated just for a moment. The prayers stopped. His hands shook. His faith, so certain moments before, cracked. And in that moment of doubt, that fraction of a second of spiritual vulnerability, the demon transferred. The boy collapsed, freed. Father Anthony stood up, turned to face his fellow priests, and smiled. But it wasn't his smile. Finally, he said in a voice that wasn't his own, a priest, such power, such access, such authority, oh, the fun we'll have. The hidden possession. The possession of a priest presents unique dangers. Priests have authority within the church, access to sacred spaces, the ability to perform sacraments. They hear confessions, learning people's deepest secrets and vulnerabilities. A possessed priest is a weapon the demonic can use against the faithful. For 2 weeks, Father Anthony continued performing his duties. No one suspected. He said Mass, heard confessions, counseled parishioners, blessed marriages, baptized children. But subtle changes appeared. Parishioners couldn't quite identify what was wrong, but something felt off. His homilies took on a different tone, still technically orthodox, but emphasizing despair over hope, damnation over salvation, the impossibility of redemption. He began counseling people toward destructive decisions. A woman in an abusive marriage came to him for guidance. He told her to stay. That suffering was her cross to bear. That leaving would be a sin. She stayed. The abuse escalated. A teenager struggling with suicidal thoughts sought his help. He told the boy that God wouldn't forgive his sins, that he was already damned, that there was no hope for someone so broken. The teenager attempted suicide 3 days later. A couple struggling with their faith asked for spiritual direction. He told them their doubts proved God had abandoned them, that they were beyond saving. They left the church entirely. In confession, he learned people's secrets and used that knowledge to manipulate them, subtly, carefully, planting seeds of despair and doubt. Discovery. One of the altar boys, a perceptive 12-year-old named Tommy, noticed something was wrong. Father Anthony's eyes are mean now, he told his mother. They look at you like they want to hurt you. The mother, Maria Chen, a devout parishioner who'd known Father Anthony for years, looked more closely during the next Mass. And she saw it too. Something had changed. The warmth was gone, replaced by something cold, calculating, malevolent. She contacted the bishop. He sent a team to investigate. What they found confirmed their worst fears. Father Anthony had been defiling the Eucharist, taking the consecrated hosts and crushing them, burning them, treating them with the utmost sacrilege. He kept them in a locked drawer in his office, along with obscene notes mocking the sacrifice of Christ. He'd been performing baptisms incorrectly, deliberately, not using the proper form, ensuring the sacrament was invalid. Dozens of children he'd baptized were unknowingly not baptized at all. He'd been saying black masses alone at night in the church, inverting Catholic rituals, invoking demons instead of saints, desecrating the altar. And most horrifying of all, they found a list. Names of every child in the parish, ages, addresses, schedules, and beside each name notes, plans, horrible plans that the bishop couldn't even speak about publicly. The investigation team confronted him. Father Anthony didn't deny anything. He laughed, mocked them. his voice shifting between his own and something deeper, older, filled with hatred. "You're too late," he said. "I've already done so much damage, so many souls twisted, so many lives ruined, and you gave me the keys to do it. You trusted me because of this collar." The Vatican intervenes. The exorcism of Father Anthony required special dispensation from the Vatican. Normally, priests are the exorcists, but when the possessed is a priest, different protocols apply. The Vatican sent Father Gabriel Amorth, their most experienced exorcist, a man who'd performed over 160,000 exorcisms in his career. If anyone could save Father Anthony, it was him. Father Amorth later described it as one of the most difficult cases of his life. The 9-day battle. From Father Amorth's testimony, the demon had deep roots. It entered through Father Anthony's unconfessed sin, the hit-and-run killing. That guilt, that hidden shame, created a doorway the demon exploited during the exorcism of the boy. What made this case particularly difficult was the demon's knowledge. It knew theology, liturgy, Catholic doctrine better than most priests. It could quote scripture perfectly and twist its meaning with devastating effectiveness. It knew the prayers I would use before I used them. It anticipated every spiritual attack. And it had Father Anthony's memories, his relationships. It knew exactly how to hurt the people who loved him, how to destroy his reputation, how to cause maximum spiritual damage to the entire parish. Days 1-3, theological warfare. The demon didn't just resist, it debated. It argued theology with Father Amorth, challenged every prayer, every invocation. It would quote church fathers, papal encyclicals, obscure theological texts, twisting their meaning. "Your God is a tyrant," it said through Father Anthony. "He demands worship but offers only suffering. He created us to burn, created humans to fail. Your entire religion is built on the foundation of a cosmic injustice." Father Amorth didn't engage with the arguments. He knew this was a trap. The demon wanted to create doubt, to draw them into philosophical debate rather than spiritual combat. Days 4-6, breaking the team. The demon revealed the sins of everyone in the room. Not just small sins, devastating secrets that could destroy lives and careers. One assistant priest had been embezzling from the church collection for years. The demon described where every dollar went, the gambling debts, the secret apartment. Another priest had been having an affair with a married parishioner. The demon revealed their meeting places, their conversations, intimate details that left the priest weeping with shame. A nun present had been planning to leave her order. She'd lost her faith completely but was too afraid to admit it. The demon exposed her crisis of faith, her doubts, her secret anger at God. "You come to cast me out," the demon laughed. "You're all corrupted, all broken. You have no moral authority here. You're all going to hell anyway. Why fight for this priest when you can't even save yourselves?" 2 priests left the exorcism, couldn't continue. The shame was too great. Father Amorth had to bring in replacements. Days 7-8, the real Father Anthony emerges. On the 7th day, during the invocation of the Blessed Virgin Mary, something changed. Father Anthony, the real Father Anthony, broke through. His voice weak and broken. "Forgive me, I confess my sin, the accident. Sarah Martinez, I killed her. I was a coward, I ran. I've lived with this guilt for 23 years and I never had the courage to confess it, not truly, not to God." Tears streamed down his face. Real tears, human tears. "I confess it all, my pride, my cowardice, my secret sin. I confess and I beg for mercy. Not for me, I deserve damnation, but for the souls I've hurt while possessed. Please, help them." The moment he confessed truly, fully, holding nothing back, the demon's hold weakened. The unconfessed sin had been its anchor. With that anchor severed, it couldn't maintain control. Day 9, liberation. But the demon didn't go quietly. It fought with everything it had. During the final prayers, Father Anthony's body was thrown against the wall with such force it cracked the plaster. He fell to the floor, unconscious, bleeding from his head. Medical staff rushed to check him. His vitals were failing. Father Amoth didn't stop. He continued the prayers, louder, more forceful, commanding the demon to depart in the name of Christ, in the name of all the saints, by the authority of God himself. And then Father Anthony's eyes opened. He looked at Father Amoth and smiled. But this time it was his real smile, weak, exhausted, but genuine. "Thank you," he whispered. "It's gone, I can feel it's gone." Aftermath and redemption. When Father Anthony woke fully, the demon was gone, but he remembered everything, every moment of the possession, every terrible thing the demon had done using his body, every person it had hurt through him. The psychological burden was crushing. He'd watched, aware but powerless, as the demon used his authority to harm people, used his voice to speak despair, used his hands to desecrate what he held sacred. He resigned from active ministry immediately, entered a monastery, spent years in prayer and penance, silent, withdrawn, broken. But eventually he made a decision. He would take full responsibility for his past sin, all of it. He came forward about the hit and run, contacted the police, gave a full confession. Sarah Martinez's family was contacted. They were given the truth finally after 23 years. He was arrested, charged with leaving the scene of a fatal accident, vehicular manslaughter. He pled guilty, refused a lawyer, accepted full responsibility. He served 3 years in prison. Sarah's daughters came to visit him. He expected hatred, anger. He deserved it. But instead, they offered forgiveness. Not because he earned it, but because they were Christians and chose mercy over vengeance. "Our mother would have forgiven you," they said. "And if she can forgive from heaven, we can forgive here on earth." Father Anthony wept. For the first time since the possession, he felt something other than guilt and shame. He felt grace. Current day. Father Anthony is still a priest, still serves God, but now he does so with complete humility, complete honesty, no more secrets, no more hidden sins that demons can exploit. He trains other priests now, teaches them about spiritual warfare, about the importance of confession, about how a single unconfessed sin can become a doorway for evil, about the pride that makes us think we can handle our guilt alone. His message is simple: confess everything, hold nothing back, because the demons know our sins better than we do, and they're patient. They'll wait decades for the right moment to exploit our shame. He also helps other possession victims, people who have been freed but carry the trauma of what happened to them. He understands in a way few people can. "I was possessed," he tells them. "I know what it's like, the helplessness, the horror of watching yourself hurt people, the guilt that comes after. But I also know that God's mercy is greater than our sins, greater than any demon, greater than any shame we carry." The people he counsels find hope in his story. If a priest can be possessed and still find redemption, if someone who killed another person can be forgiven, then maybe there's hope for anyone. Father Anthony's case teaches us several critical lessons about possession. First, no one is immune, not priests, not people of deep faith, not those who have dedicated their lives to God. If there's an unhealed wound, a hidden sin, a moment of spiritual vulnerability, demons can enter. Second, confession matters. True, complete, honest confession, not just going through the motions, not holding anything back out of shame. The secrets we keep are weapons demons use against us. Third, possession can be defeated, even in the worst cases, even when the demon has deep roots and powerful knowledge. God's grace is stronger than any evil. And finally, redemption is possible. No matter what you've done, no matter what's been done to you, no matter how dark the possession was or how terrible the aftermath, there is always hope. Father Anthony lives that truth every day. a walking testament to the reality of both demonic evil and divine mercy. Case 4. The Twins. This case involves the simultaneous possession of twin sisters, 7 years old, identical in appearance, and after their possession began, identical in their torment. I'll call them Amy and Anna. Their family lived in a rental house in Texas. The house had a history. 3 previous tenants had left abruptly, citing bad vibes and unexplained phenomena. But the rent was cheap, and the family needed to save money. They should have listened to the warnings. The house. The Rodriguez family moved in on August 15, 2018. Parents Maria and Carlos, their teenage son Daniel, and the 7-year-old twins, Amy and Anna. The first week was normal. The second week, the twins started behaving strangely. They would stand in the hallway at night, facing their bedroom door, holding hands, just standing there, silent. If their parents tried to move them, they would scream. Maria's account. I found them like that the first time at 2:30 a.m. I'd gotten up for water and saw them in the hallway, just standing there in their matching pajamas, holding hands, staring at their closed bedroom door. I asked what they were doing. They turned to look at me in perfect sync, like choreographed, and said together, "We can't go in there. She won't let us." I asked who she was. They pointed at the door and said, still in unison, "The lady who lives in our room. She says we have to stay out here until she's done." I opened their bedroom door. The room was empty, but it was freezing cold. Our house in Texas in August, and their room was like a freezer. The phenomenon continued. Every night the twins would stand in the hallway, holding hands, refusing to enter their room until exactly 3:33 a.m. Then they would go inside, get into bed, and sleep normally. When asked about it in the morning, they had no memory of it. Synchronized behavior. 3 weeks after moving in, the synchronized behavior escalated beyond just standing in the hallway. Daniel's testimony. My sisters started doing everything at exactly the same time. Not like normal twin stuff, this was creepy. They would blink at the same instant, turn their heads at the same instant, smile at the same instant, like they were being controlled by the same brain. One day I tested it. I separated them. Put Amy in the living room, Anna in the kitchen, different rooms, couldn't see each other. I dropped a book. Both of them jumped at the exact same time. Same movement, same reaction. That's when I knew something was really wrong. The twins started speaking in unison. Perfect synchronization. Same words, same tone, same inflection. Not finishing each other's sentences, speaking the exact same words at the exact same time. And their vocabulary changed. 7-year-olds shouldn't know words like desecration, damnation, torment, but the twins used them fluently, perfectly. The drawings. 4 weeks in, the twins started drawing, obsessively, hundreds of drawings, all depicting the same thing, a tall, thin woman with no face standing in a bedroom. But the disturbing part wasn't just what they drew, it was how they drew it. Both twins would sit at opposite ends of a table, each with their own paper and crayons. They would draw at the same time, same movements, same pace. When they finished, always at the exact same moment, the drawings were identical, not similar, identical. Every line, every color, every detail perfectly matched. When Maria asked them about the woman in the drawings, both twins said simultaneously, "That's Mrs. Crowley. She used to live here. She doesn't like that we're in her house. She wants us to leave, but she says if we can't leave, we can stay with her, forever." Maria researched the house's history. The previous owner was indeed a woman named Eleanor Crowley. She had died in the house in 2015. Suicide. She hanged herself in what was now the twins' bedroom. The possession manifests. Week 6. The twins stopped eating, refused all food. When their parents tried to force them, they would vomit immediately, both of them at the same time, same amount. Medical exams showed nothing wrong. The doctors were baffled. The twins should have been weak, malnourished. but they seemed fine, energetic even. Then came the night of September 28th. Carlos's testimony. I woke up to singing, children's voices singing a lullaby, but the words were wrong. Instead of rockabye baby, they were singing about death, about hanging, about joining Mrs. Crowley in the darkness. I ran to their room. The door was open. Amy and Anna were standing on their beds, facing each other, swaying back and forth in perfect sync, singing this horrible song. Their eyes were open but rolled back, just whites showing. I tried to wake them, shook them, yelled their names, nothing. They just kept singing and swaying. Then, at the exact same moment, they stopped, turned their heads toward me, that synchronized movement that had become so common, and smiled. But it wasn't their smile. It was something else wearing their faces. They spoke together. Daddy, Mrs. Crowley says it's time. Time for us to stay with her forever. She's been so lonely. She needs friends. We're going to be her friends. We're going to hang with her. That's when Carlos and Maria called Father Miguel Santos, a priest who specialized in cases of demonic oppression and possession. Father Santos's assessment. I've dealt with many hauntings, many possessions, but never a case of simultaneous possession of twins. The entity or entities were using the twins' natural connection against them. Twins have a bond most people don't understand. When one is attacked spiritually, that bond becomes a bridge. The demon can use it to cross to the other twin. In this case, the spirit wasn't demonic in the traditional sense. Alina Crowley was a human spirit, but one corrupted by her suicide and prolonged presence in the house. She'd become something twisted, something that fed on the innocence of children. She'd been trying to possess children before. That's why the previous families left. But those families didn't have twins. Alina found that the twin bond allowed her to possess both simultaneously, doubling her power. The exorcism. The exorcism had to be performed on both twins simultaneously. Father Santos brought another priest, Father Lewis, to help. Each priest would focus on one twin, but they had to coordinate perfectly. Any lapse could allow the entity to consolidate in one child. The twins were placed in separate rooms, 10 feet apart, both visible to both priests. The moment the prayers began, the manifestation started. Both twins' voices deepened, became the voice of an old woman, Alina Crowley, speaking through both children at once. These are my children now. I've been alone so long, so cold, so dark. They keep me warm, they keep me company. You can't take them from me. Both twins began to levitate. Not high, just inches off their beds, but simultaneously. Same height, same gentle swaying motion. Their hands reached toward each other, straining across the distance between the rooms, desperate to reconnect. The priests continued the prayers. The twins screamed same pitch, same duration, same agony. They vomited both at the same instant, same substance. Black and viscous, smelling of decay. Then Alina spoke again through both children. I'll tell you what happened, how I really died. It wasn't suicide, he killed me. My husband, he made it look like suicide, but he killed me. And no one believed me. No one helped me, so I stayed, I waited. And now I have daughters, beautiful daughters who will never leave me. The temperature in both rooms plummeted. Frost formed on the windows. The twins' breath came out in clouds. They began to shake violently, seizure-like movements, perfectly synchronized. Father Santos intensified the prayers, commanded Alina to release the children, invoked the authority of God. The twins thrashed, cried out. But slowly, gradually, their movements became less synchronized. Small differences appeared. Amy's left hand moved before Anna's. Anna blinked a fraction of a second after Amy. The bond was weakening. No, Alina screamed through both children. They're mine. I won't be alone again, I won't. And then both twins went completely still. Silent. For 30 seconds, nothing. No movement, no breathing. The parents watching thought the worst had happened. Then Amy gasped. 2 seconds later, Anna gasped. Not synchronized, different. Their eyes opened, their real eyes, brown and warm and alive. They looked around, confused. "Mommy," Amy said. "Daddy," Anna said a moment later. Different voices, different timing, individual again. The possession was broken. Aftermath. The family moved out the next day, left everything behind, didn't even pack, just grabbed essentials and left. The twins recovered slowly. For weeks they were terrified of being in the same room together. The bond that had been used against them felt tainted, dangerous. They underwent therapy, play therapy, art therapy. Gradually they learned to trust their twin connection again, but it would never be quite the same. The innocence was gone. They still have nightmares, sometimes the same nightmares on the same nights. They wake up at the same time, both having dreamed of Mrs. Crowley reaching for them, begging them to come back, to keep her company in the darkness. The house in Texas remains empty. The landlord can't rent it. Every family that views it refuses. They say it feels wrong, cold, like something is waiting inside. Father Santos performed a cleansing ritual, but he admits it may not have worked. Eleanor Crowley is bound to that house by her death and her lies. As long as her murder remains unavenged, as long as the truth about her death remains hidden, she might never find peace, and she'll keep reaching for the living, trying to fill the void her death created. The twins are 9 now. They're doing better, but Maria says they're different. They used to finish each other's sentences, have the same favorite foods, dress alike. Now they deliberately choose different things, different clothes, different friends, different activities. They're afraid of being too connected, afraid something could use that connection again. This case illustrates a unique aspect of possession, how natural bonds can be exploited by spiritual entities. The connection between twins, something beautiful and mysterious, became a weapon. It also shows that not all possessing entities are demons in the traditional sense. Human spirits can become corrupted, especially those who die violently or with unfinished business. Eleanor Crowley's murder and the cover-up that followed trapped her spirit, twisted it, turned her into something capable of possessing children. The synchronized manifestations, the perfect timing, the identical movements, the simultaneous symptoms demonstrated how the twin bond allowed the possession to be stronger, more complete than typical cases. And it serves as a warning. Some houses carry their history like a curse. Eleanor Crowley's house will likely claim more victims unless the truth about her death is revealed and she can finally find peace. Case 5, the Atheist. This final case is unique because it involves someone who didn't believe in demons. Dr. Richard Hayes, 38, neuroscientist, PhD from MIT. He thought possession was psychological delusion. Then it happened to him. The Skeptic. Dr. Hayes was writing a book debunking supernatural claims. He'd interviewed possession victims, analyzed brain scans, found medical explanations for everything. Sleep paralysis, temporal lobe epilepsy. Every case had a rational answer. In October 2019, Richard attended an exorcism to observe and document. He brought EEG monitors, thermal cameras, audio recorders. He was going to prove scientifically that exorcism was theater. The observation. The possessed woman produced impossible vocal frequencies, spoke fluent Aramaic and Latin languages she'd never learned. Temperature dropped 23 degrees in 2 minutes with no external cause. Then the entity spoke to Richard. "Dr. Hayes, the man who doesn't believe, we've been watching you, waiting for you." It described his daughter Sarah in perfect detail. Her birthmark, her fear of thunderstorms, her stuffed rabbit Mr. Hoppy, a private conversation from Tuesday, details no one outside his family could know. The transfer. The entity said, "You want proof, scientific evidence, I'll give you proof firsthand." Richard felt invisible hands inside his chest, couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Words came from his mouth that weren't his own. "The good doctor is indisposed. I'll take excellent care of his body." The demon transferred. The woman collapsed, freed. Richard was possessed. The possession. Richard was conscious but couldn't control his body, a passenger in his own mind. The demon drove him home, greeted his wife, went to Sarah's room. Richard felt the demon's intentions toward his daughter, fought with everything he had, managed 2 words, "Sarah, run," before losing control again. Jennifer, his wife, knew something was wrong, locked herself and Sarah in the bathroom, called Father Chen. The battle. The exorcism lasted 6 hours. The demon used Richard's scientific knowledge against him. Your rational mind can't accept this. That cognitive dissonance will drive you insane. Jennifer prayed with a rosary she hadn't touched in 15 years. Richard, fight. I believe in you, and I believe in God. For the first time in his adult life, Richard prayed, God, if you're real, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please help me. The demon screamed, its hold weakened. Richard took back control inch by inch. After 6 hours, he looked at Jennifer and said, I believe. God help me, I believe. The demon was gone. The convert. Richard never published his skeptical book. Instead, he wrote, The Skeptic's Possession, a scientist's journey from atheism to faith. He converted to Catholicism, still practices neuroscience but now studies consciousness and spirituality, works with possession victims using both scientific and spiritual approaches. His message, I was the ultimate skeptic. If it could happen to me, it can happen to anyone. Demons don't care if you believe in them. They prefer it when you don't. Richard now says, I lost my atheism but gained something infinitely more valuable, truth. And truth, even when terrifying, is better than comfortable delusion. His story proves possession doesn't discriminate. Faith, even new uncertain faith, can be powerful. You don't need perfect belief, just willingness to ask for help.